Let's do this one.
One thing I never had on the bingo card for 2025 is Ready or Not being downvote brigaded by their own community.
Yeah, imagine that. If you censor your game, your players won't like that. Who could have guessed?
At a time during the Steam summer sale where Ready or Not is 50% off on Steam, you'd think we'd see a lot more eyes on their title leading up to their console launch on July 15th.
Oh, content, nice.
And for
Good for
transparency's sake, I have a pending deal with Ready or Not to celebrate their console launch. They wanted me to jump in. That was going to be some sponsored content for Void Interactive. And as you guys can now see from this chart, things aren't looking very good. It seems like for the last few days, people are getting a little pissed off. Articles being written about how controversial first-person shooter Ready or Not drops to mixed reviews as community slams the developers.
Why is the game controversial? Are they retarded?
For censorship. What does this all mean? Let's talk about it. Ready or Not will be censored before launching on consoles, and it could even affect the PC version. Now, this article was
This is bad. This is really bad.
Published 2 days ago. It has now been confirmed this is happening to the PC version as well. And we're just going to go to the source here and read through what's actually going on. Console rating content changes. Throughout the console port process, we've done our utmost to only make changes when they're flagged as absolutely required by our first-party partners. Our age rating as it stands for consoles is ESRB M rating, PEGI 18, USK 18 to give an idea. Still, there are other game content requirements that console platforms have in order to exist on their systems, and a portion of these changes will be visible on the PC version. And
fuck this shit. Fuck consoles.
Instead of jumping into that, they go in and explain the reasons why. There are two main reasons that these limited asset changes may be visible on the PC version as well. Maintaining multiple versions of the game with different assets and system mechanics increases the likelihood of bugs to appear in future updates. So because this game is cross-platform when it comes to consoles, things have to have parity. If the in-game assets were not the same, it would make crossplay unusable. And because people want crossplay, both games have to remain the same.
Then just don't have crossplay.
So what does that mean? It means we're losing a lot of gore and dismemberment. Player-induced dismemberment still has a large presence in the game, but is a little more limited as to when it occurs. When alive enemies are shot, they can undergo dismemberment. However, once they are dead, no further dismemberment occurs. No.
Okay. To be fair, I don't care about this. This is completely fine. I mean, sure, yeah. It's censorship, but I don't care about that. Because who actually goes to a dead enemy and dismembers it? I mean, you do in the Forest game and Sons of the Forest, but not here. It has zero gameplay incentive or use.
No, the level of dismemberment itself, when it occurs, was not actually toned down. Ultimately, we consider this an okay compromise considering our gameplay design already dissuades use of lethal force anyway. So if you have somebody on the ground, you shoot them with a shotgun, and when they're already dead, they're no longer being dismembered. Lastly, some characters' art involving torture were tuned down slightly to be less over the top. For example, the tortured police informant on Narcos is still missing fingers, eyes, and covered in fresh wounds and blood, but a little bit less so. So it's just been toned down just slightly. Plus, some instances of explicit nudity for a handful of civilians and one suspect have been covered up a bit more. Can't show titties. It's consoles, they're babies. Explicit representations of violence and mistreatment against children. Although we already make a substantial effort to present mistreatment against children in the game in a responsible way, we made slight thematic expansions of this philosophy in order to better meet certification standards. For example, the child on Twisted Nerve has an animation change to be unconscious or sleeping instead of previously convulsive animations. So remember that kid in the top floor of Twisted Nerve who was like convulsing on the bed because she was left by her parents, probably induced something we didn't really know? That's no longer the case. This is the same team that's staring down the barrel of a gun from all of the media journalists who were shitting on them for creating a school shooter level. They came down and said, fuck that. We're going to do it with respect. We're going to do it right. And we're going to do it whether you like it or not. But when you have platforms that are telling you that you need to change the contents of your game to be less violent, to be less explicit, to show less titties or whatever, you got to play by their rules. The changes with the console version are small enough that most people here wouldn't notice if we didn't say anything, but we want to be transparent. It's largely just evidence and nudity that's altered, and the texture changes don't affect the PC version. In conclusion, they're looking forward to their console launch and relieved to be fully finished with all of their console launch certification processes. And as you probably know already, this has pissed off a lot of people.
Yeah, I can guess that, yeah. I can see why. I mean, to be fair, the changes don't seem to be big, but they are still there, and that's a problem. And I can see why the players don't like it. I can see that. I wouldn't like that either.
The first comment on this post is huge respect for creating one of the standout games in its genre and keeping the experience alive and thriving years after release. I gotta say, on one hand, I actually agree. And as you can see, the clown emojis are being thrown out. You're censoring the game, not a fan. These ones are getting upvoted. Loving the new animations, but toning down the graphic themes of the game is a bit questionable. I actually agree. It's one of the main reasons why we all got excited about this game back in 2017 when we first started seeing these concepts come to life. The school shooter level. Remember the initial concept?
Oh boy, a school shooter level. Yeah. I mean, I don't have a problem with that. But I know, that people, stupid people, have a will have a problem with a school shooter level because they can't think. They only hear school shooter level and they think you are the school shooter. You are the bad guy. Of course they do that because they are stupid.
Trailer where they showed the officers opening up the shipping container and there were kids in there being trafficked and you rescue them. Those themes are what sold us on the game in the first place. And like this person points out, it was either that, the censoring of the game, or they get an adults only rating, which is basically commercially non-viable. So here we are. We're sitting here at the cusp of a console release, and we have people now downvoting the game because they're not a fan of the censorship that is inevitably going to be coming to the PC version of the game. Now, here's the thing. For the console crowd, if there wasn't crossplay and they wanted to downtone it, it is what it is. The fact that people have already purchased the game, most likely based on some of those themes that you guys show off in the screenshots, in the trailers, and in videos that we have already made on this channel in the past, the fact that that now is being changed after a purchase for somebody is kind of a shitty thing to do.
Yes. And the thing is, they don't really want to do it. If they wouldn't need to do it, if they could just release the game on consoles without this censorship, they would do that. But it's the consoles, the companies there that want the censorship. I wonder why, the further on we go, the further left, everything goes, the more censorship we have. I wonder why that is.
I understand not wanting to go adults only. If you're putting all of these resources together to make a console version for the console crowd, you want to make as much money as humanly possible to make that money back. I totally understand the business side of why you want to go down this road. The fact that it affects the PC release when it's already been out in the open for years on end is questionable, and it just downright fucking sucks. Awake here points out, here we go again, all PC players suffer because of console players. Yeah, Refund sounds like a reasonable idea after downgrading the game. Now here's the thing, I don't know if I'm personally upset enough to want to refund the game and say fuck it. Ready or Not is one of the best indie shooters
that's a problem here, because you've paid for the game, you have played the game for hundreds of hours. Should you still get a refund after the game gets censored because they're publishing on a different platform too? Should that be allowed? Should these people be allowed to get a refund? That's a actual hard question, because they have used the game, they played it for hundreds of hours. This is actually hard.
That we have covered on this channel. They started off really, really rough, and they made their way to, again, one of the best releases that we have seen in a long time. But as the next comment points out, he believes that censoring certain aspects of the game is compromising the core identity of Ready or Not, and it's unfortunate that it has to be this way and the developers have to compromise. I'm sure they're not happy about it at all. I'm sure they would have loved just a one-to-one parody of whatever's on the PC version can be on the console version. Probably would have made their lives a lot easier. But if I could give the developers a little bit of advice, you do not want to jump into a thread like this with this response. For clarification, the changes aren't extensive. They're only minor skin changes, with the most significant change being that players lose the ability to desecrate corpses, which I know for some people is like, yeah, big deal, but read the room. There's so many pissed off people. Gerard's ghillie just goes down a little further. The woman on port gained tattered clothes instead of being nude. Small changes like that. Kaminsky, you got...
To be fair, these are small changes. That the women are scanned to the client, have a little clothes on instead of being naked, yeah, okay. And personally, I don't care, because it's not a Guna game. If it would be a Guna game, then we would have a problem. You know?
To read the room. And I think this comment really just sums up how I feel. Look, I get the overall challenge with the porting process, but that doesn't make the forced compliance of a console port censorship guideline on us feel any less icky. As somebody who backed this game back in 2000, I think it was 2017, 2018, it kind of sucks to see the neutering of that atmosphere happen because they want to put it on consoles. I totally understand. The console crowd has been begging, dude, the console crowd's been begging for fucking anything with a gun on it for years on end. I totally get it, but it does kind of suck. And as you can see, their community hub is being more desecrated than the corpse can be now. There's so many people complaining. I was about to buy this game, fuck censorship. Crossplay was a mistake. If they censor, we should all mass downvote the game. That's what's happening now. But the thing is mass downvotes and bitching on community hubs is only going to get you so far. When you look like the game's sitting at the last 30 days, it gained up, it went down, came up. I'm guessing that has a lot to do with the Steam summer sale. Right now there's 12,000 people online, which...
That's a good number for a relatively small game. What's the all-time? I guess 50,000?
The game doesn't seem to be...
55,000. That's a good number for a small game. Small game. These are good numbers. These are good numbers for a game like that.
Losing steam at all. When you look at the charts for 2025, like the game was kind of losing steam, trickling down, 7,000, 6,000. You know, we hit the end of the month here in June. Steam summer sale starts and starting to climb right back up to around 11,000. It's not at its highest peak by any stretch. So while it's down a little bit from where it started at the beginning of the year, where it was hitting, you know, peaks of around 20,000.
But what's the overall? Let's go back to max. Oh yeah, it's the max is here where full release was, I guess. Then it went down and a little bit up and down, but it's yeah. It looks a little rough, I guess.
It hasn't dropped enough to really probably make a difference to the developers. I think they can clearly tell that a lot of people are pissed off with this change. And it's tough because I completely understand both sides of the coin. The developers want to get this into many people's hands as possible. People have been begging for them to do it, and this is the compromise that they have to make to be able to pass those certifications. But I also understand the gamer side of things. I don't think the console crowd actually cares about it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm misreading it. I think the console crowd is just going to be psyched to have a tactical shooter that they can play on a controller on their TV in their fucking living rooms. I think the biggest problem is the PC people who have paid for the game already and now have to suffer those changes. But I can completely understand it from both perspectives, but I want to know what you guys think down below. I have a feeling that a lot of you are going to be upset at those content changes and the censorship for the console crossplay parity. And while you're letting me know your thoughts down below, leave a like on the video, subscribe for more FPS content just like this. And if you guys want to support the channel, you can do so by going to gamersubs.gg.
Okay, yeah, that's it. There wasn't a lot here. But yeah, censorship bad. Even a little censorship is bad, but I will. I think it would have been the best to have two versions of the game, but one is PC only. You can't, play with console players, and then you have a PC version where you can play with console players, but it's the same version that the console players have. I think that would have been the smartest decision here. As the smartest decision would have been to make a compromise, and that's what I would have done.